Tourism operators say it was only a matter of time before campsite closures would be enforced on a popular tourist island off the Queensland coast due to the threat of dingoes. Joining us live now is Dr. Katie Woolaston from the Queensland University of Technology. Dr. Woolaston, really appreciate your time. Thank you. I understand you are the expert on this. You've done your PhD on those dingoes on the island Gari. Are attacks actually increasing? And if so, why do you think that is?
Yeah, certainly by the number of news reports that are coming off Gari, in the last few years, attacks do seem to be increasing. Nobody really knows why. There are a number of potential reasons, including increased tourist numbers, increased tourists doing silly things like feeding dingoes and not complying with the management policy that, says don't run on the beach and make sure that you keep children within arm's reach distance and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of people doing the wrong thing. They're not the ones that are at danger. What happens is the next person that comes into contact with that dingo is the one that's likely to be in danger. So tourists are doing the wrong thing, but also just a different change in management or a different system for the dingoes to live in, with different areas of fencing now, and recovery after fires on Gari a couple of years ago might all be contributing to this as well.
So do we just need to accept that a tourist island where there are a lot of dingoes might not be compatible with tourism? When we think about children, for example, it's pretty tough to stop a child running on a beach, for example, as any parent would know. Or do you think that there are some better management practices that could help sort this out?
Yeah, it's a really tough situation, Ash. And, as you say, there's on one hand, people want to go to Gari. It's a beautiful World Heritage Island and a wonderful tourist spot and a big tourist attraction for Australia. On the other hand, the dingoes are protected and special to the bachelor people and the locals and many people around Australia, and people don't want to see them euthanised as a result of people's tourists' bad behaviour. So really, it comes down to then managing the people's behaviour on the island. There are other options that have been floated by other people, like things like pup training and feeding stations. They're really under-researched, though. We don't know whether they're going to be effective. And the reason they haven't been researched is because the island is a World Heritage Area, which means that we have to manage it in a particular way to keep that listing. And that involves keeping the dingoes as naturally spaced from people as possible. And so things like pup training and feeding stations aren't considered natural enough for those policies. So then the only option that we really have is doing some more research into why people continue to behave in the ways that they do, and maybe giving rangers and others on the island more power to deal with those people that are doing the wrong thing at the time.
So is that just in the too hard basket, trying to train dingoes when they're puppies? Is that just too tricky?
No, I don't think it's in the too hard basket. I think it's in the not considered basket and not researched basket. There are internationally, we have other states or other countries around the world that have these types of issues with animals that are a lot like dingoes, coyotes, for example, that have different management practices. But because it's a World Heritage Area, that makes it really difficult to undertake those management practices. We're quite constrained by the management policies that we're allowed to utilise under the World Heritage Treaty, I should say. And so it's not that it's in a too hard basket, it's more that we are trying to manage effectively the people that are doing the wrong thing rather than managing the natural behaviour of the dingoes.
Katie, how many wild dingoes are there around the country? Do we have a firm grasp on that, and where are they mainly located?
Around the country, I don't know how many there are around the country on Gari. On Gari Fraser Island, we think there's around 200. Of course, the dingoes on Gari have a special privilege that the dingoes on the mainland don't have. Dingoes on the mainland aren't protected, and they're often seen as a pest and killed by farmers and things as they are perceived to come and eat their sheep and whatnot. And so the dingoes on Gari have a special protection that doesn't exist elsewhere. And we think there's about 200, but the population exactly isn't known.
Dr. Katie Woolaston, it is a problem that is confounding the Queensland government, it seems, at this point. It'll be fascinating to see where it goes from here. Thanks very much for your time.
Thanks for having me.